everyone and welcome. I'm Emma and this is where I share what I've been knitting and crocheting lately. I finally have dedicated yarn storage. I've been so excited to film today so that I could have my new yarn cabinet in the background instead of just a boring plain wall. Before today, all of my yarn just kind of lived upstairs in the bedroom and it didn't have a proper storage area or anything like that. It was kind of just scattered about and shoved here and there. So I'm really excited now that I've got a proper space for it and it's got glass doors on it. So I know that everything is kept away safely from dust and things like that. And I've just spent the past 5 minutes faffing about with the camera setup and things because I've had to do things at a different angle. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it. So I'm still sitting in the same place. It's just that now that I've got like a dedicated work area and things, so it's very exciting. And normally when I film a podcast style video like this, I have to spend so much time kind of trekking up and downstairs to get projects and yarn and things that I want to talk to you about. And usually I'll forget something, and it's just been so much easier today because everything's already downstairs and you can have something interesting or more interesting to look at in the background now as well. I actually intended to film this a couple of weeks ago, and I remember thinking at the time that it was going to be a much shorter episode than the last time that I filmed because I think it was only about 3 weeks since I'd filmed the last time. And then, for various reasons, one of them being I wanted to get my new cabinet set up and things in the background before I filmed, and other things. For various reasons, I've ended up being a little bit delayed. And within that time, I've actually cast on some new projects. So actually, it may end up being a bit of a long one again. Before we get started, I've just got a couple of things that I want to chat about briefly. The first is I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's watched my vlog style videos. Um, it's something that I've wanted to try doing for a while, and yeah, it was really great fun to make those videos. I've only done a couple because they take so long. Out of all of the videos that I produce, like podcast style videos and tutorials and things, they're definitely the most time consuming. Just filming and editing and things like that. And I was so nervous about posting the first one. I fully expected that it would get like just a handful of views, but no, it did okay. Both of them have done okay, and I got some lovely comments from you all. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching those if you did. And the other thing that I just want to mention really briefly is that I have switched my newsletter provider, sort of the whole background system that I use to send out my emails and things to you all. If you're already on the list, you don't need to do anything. Like I say, it's all in the background, but I just wanted to mention it because if you're not on the list and you want to be, now is a really good time to sign up. I'll pop the link to do so in the description box below. And I don't send very many emails, to be honest. It's only when I've got something to say, or when there's a pattern release and things. But when you sign up, you will get a discount code for my Ravelry store. And if you're on my subscriber list, anytime that I release a new pattern, my subscribers always get an exclusive discount as well that I don't offer anywhere else. So yeah, so if you're not signed up, then please do so. I'm wearing my Cumulus tee today, which I haven't worn before whilst I filmed, but I know that I've definitely shown it before whilst it was a work in progress. But this is a pattern by PetiteKnit, and I made this back in May because I made it for our holiday and we went on holiday at the end of May. And I know that I definitely showed it back to you then, but like I said, I've not worn it, so I don't think you've ever seen the finished object. I used Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colour Copper, which I love. I really, really like this. I would like to make some more things in this colour as well. I really like it. I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. If you've watched me before, you will know that I film in the same room that my my children's guinea pigs also live in, and they're currently ripping up a cardboard box whilst I'm filming. So yeah, apologies. So yeah, I just thought I'd briefly mention what I'm wearing. Really happy with the colour. I've made this once before, but I made it quite cropped, whereas this time I made sure to add a bit more extra length to it, and I'm glad that I did so. It fits much better. I can kind of tuck it in a little bit now, and it looks a lot better. There are 3 finished objects that I want to show you today that I showed you last time. So yeah, I've been quite productive really when I think about it. The first one is actually my own pattern, and that is the Isla scarf Maxi. And I think when we chatted about this last time, I was actually going to call it the Isla shawl, but so I would have the scarf version, which is kind of the small neck scarf, and then the larger shawl version. But to me, it's definitely more of a scarf than a shawl. I wouldn't really describe it as a shawl personally, so I thought I'd go with the Isla Scarf Maxi. So now I have the mini version and the maxi version. So this is available as a free tutorial on my channel if you don't want to pay for the written instructions, but you can do so if you wish. So all of the pattern photos for this were modelled by my lovely Sofie, who is 13. So, and she's quite small, bless her. I mean, I'm quite small, so she's not going to be huge, but she's a little bit shorter than me. So I'm 5'3", which is about 160 centimeters, and she's still just a tiny bit shorter than me. So although proportionately, it fits her really nicely, because she is just a little bit shorter height wise than me. It does look really long on her. But she's a really good model. So I'm gonna try it on to show you now. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, just to bear in mind when you look at the pattern photos. Don't think, oh wow, that's far too long, this shawl. It's just because Sofie is only small. So here it is. So I made this in yarn that was kindly gifted to me from Hobbii. It is Hobbii Friends Extra Fine Merino, but the XL version, and the colour that I've used is chocolate, which is not very chocolatey, I have to say. It's more of like a rusty, reddy brown kind of colour, but it's still beautiful. So I will pop it on and kind of give you a demo. But this is how it looks, and this is how I would wear it. So it kind of wraps around once like this, but it's really long. I've kind of based the measurements. So, I mean, you could wrap it around more if you wanted. It's really warm and cozy. It's lovely. I based the measurements and the shaping of this on the Sofie shawl, which is the incredibly popular pattern by PetiteKnit that I'm sure you will be aware of. And I really wanted to create a crocheted version of it. Now, as I was making this, I did lay out my Sofie shawl against this one, and the dimensions are pretty much spot on. Lengthwise, it's the same. The only thing I would say with my version is that it is slightly shorter at its kind of widest point. So widthways across, it's not as wide, but only by a small amount, only by like an inch or so, not hugely. And if I bring it close to show you, you should be able to see the lovely horizontal stitch detailing on it. And it's incredibly easy, really, really easy. It's worked over a 4-row repeat, and you start at one end here and just keep on going until you get to the halfway point, and then you just start decreasing back down until you get to the other end. So it's really easy to do, and it's a good way of using up yarn as well. So if you had, a specific quantity of yarn, say you've got 6 skeins, 8 skeins of yarn, and you want to use them all up, you can just keep on crocheting until you've used up half, and then switch to the decreases to use up the other half. So it's really good for using up yarn in that way as well. So that's a new pattern release. I also have a completed pair of socks, and I showed these last time, and these are just a pair of plain vanilla socks, and I've used yarn from the Camel's yarn, and this is the Midsummer Sock set. And I was watching my podcast on my last episode yesterday really quickly, just so I could kind of remind myself of where I'd been with projects and things. And I said that I was going to pop in a picture of how this yarn looked when it was in the skein because it was so beautiful. And then I completely forgot to do that when I was editing. So I will definitely do that this time and pop that in to show you. But this is how it looks. And obviously it's just a plain vanilla socks. I don't have a great deal to say about them, but I've done 15 rounds in a half twisted rib. I've done 45 rounds for the leg, just a regular heel flap and gusset, which is my preferred heel style now. I did used to dabble in doing shadow wrap and fish lips kiss heels and things like that, but unless I've got something like a self-striping sock yarn, I will generally stick to a heel flap and gusset now because they just fit me best. And then I've just knit until the end and then just in a standard toe, which is just one round of knitting and then one round with decreases until I get to 14 stitches on the needle, and then I just kitchen and stitch them together. So there's not a great deal to say about them. Like I say, these are a little bit different, I think, to a colour that I would normally choose. And it's been nice to do something a little bit different. And I do think they will get a lot of wear because they're just nice, kind of simple but classic looking socks, I think. But yes, a little bit out of my usual colour scheme, but very beautiful. I've forgotten the name of the dyer again. She's the Camel's yarn, but I don't know the name of the actual dyer. But do check her out because she has some really, really beautiful yarn. And I've seen some lovely jumpers and things that people have made using her yarn as well. It's really pretty. So I'll pop the link down in the description box so you can have a look. So that's my second finished object. And I just wanted to interject before I show you my final effort because I want your opinion on what my next sock cast on should be. Because I'm itching to start another pair now that I've got those ones off the needles. And I have two options. So my planned option is using this yarn here, which is by Loom Wool. And this is the colour Honey Mustard. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And I bought this with the intention of making a pair of Humblebee socks, which they're really pretty. They're toe up, which I don't normally do, but it's the only way you can make this pattern because at the top of the leg, they have tiny little bees that are knitted onto them, and you can only do that if they're worked toe up. So although I'm normally a cuff down kind of girl, I'm happy to do toe up on this occasion just for those little bees. So that was my planned project. But I've been watching a lot of podcasts lately, and of course it's October, which means that it is Socktober, and everyone's been knitting socks. And I saw a pair of socks by Summer Lee, and they were the Totally Rad ribbed socks, I think they're called. And I got to looking through my yarn stash, and I'm thinking I could make a pair of those with these two colours. So this would be the main colour, and I'll pop a picture of the socks on so that you know what I'm talking about. This would be the main colour, and then this would be the contrast. So this would do there's some stripes going across as well. So this would be for the stripes and for like the toe and things like that. So that's my wild card option. And I would like your help and your opinions, please, if you don't mind, in the comments to let me know which one you think I should do. So we've got the Humblebee socks with this skein of loom wool, or I can go with my wild card option, which is a pair of rad ribbed socks by Summer Lee using this. And this yarn is from Arcane Fiberworks. I was gifted this yonks ago, I mean like a couple of years ago now. So I've got Let Your Dreams Blossom, and then I have got Logging for Lilac. So let me know what you think. I've also got this one, but this one is called Dream Big. And they look very similar, don't they? They could easily be, you know, the same colourway, but from like a different place in the dye pan or something. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think. Which one you think I should cast on next. So leave me a comment and let me know which one. Last time we chatted, I showed you this granny square blanket and it is now finished. I said that I was just going to continue with this until I was happy with the size, and I kind of reached that point. It seemed to come around quite quickly actually. It's about 70 to 80 centimetres squared, which is plenty big enough, I think. Just for a baby blanket or something like that. I don't actually know anyone who has a baby at the moment. I'm sure someone somewhere will in the family will have one at some point soon, at which point I can gift this. But this was just a really fun knit. It was just, I made it for no reason really other than just for the enjoyment of making it. So I've used Hobbie's Twister Solid, and I'll pop the colours that I've used in the description box below because I don't have them to hand, but I know that I've got them written down, so I will pop them in. And it's just a granny square. So I've done one round of each colour, and each colour separated by 2 rounds of the kind of white creamy colour. And yeah, that's it. I think it looks really good. Simple but effective, I think. And it's 4-ply yarn, so it's quite lightweight, and it is a cotton and acrylic mix. So that will be a nice pram blanket or something for spring or summer next year, I think, but not a winter blanket. I currently have 6 whips on the go at the moment, which is a little bit more than I would normally have. I do try to keep it down a little bit, but like I say, I've been casting on some new things lately. I think it's just this time of year. I get to autumn, and as we head into winter, I just want to knit everything. I have one crochet project, and I've showed it last time, but I've made some good progress on it. So this is my corner to corner moss stitch blanket. And since we last chatted, I've reached the decreases. So I'm actually making this one to be a rectangular shape. The last one I made was square. It's kind of difficult to show. So basically, I mean, I plan to film a full tutorial for this once I'm a little bit further on with it anyway, but to do a square, you basically increase until you reach the size that you want and then decrease on both sides. With a rectangle, you reach the size that you want widthwise, and then you'll decrease on one side whilst continuing to increase at the other side. And then once you kind of reach the next point, then you start decreasing on both sides. So on this side, I've started my decreases, but on this side, we're still increasing. And that means that each row now is staying a consistent length. It's not getting any bigger or smaller. And I think because of that, I've kind of reached a bit of an impasse with this project. I worked on it for a little bit yesterday, and it was hard. To be honest, I have lost my crojo a little bit anyway. I think I do always do at this time of year, but yeah, I'm finding it a bit hard at the moment working on this. I just feel like I'm not really making a great deal of progress on it. I laid it down and measured it yesterday, and after this row that you can see here, which is like this brown colour, I still need to add 6 more colours, so 12 more rows before I should be ready to start decreasing at both ends. And I think once I can get to that point where I'm decreasing and both of the rows are, you know, both sides are decreasing and the rows are starting to get shorter and shorter, I think I'll feel a bit more motivated to work on it again, because I'll have the rows getting shorter and shorter each time, and that's going to give me something to work towards and look forward to. Because at the moment, with the rows just staying the same, I just kind of feel like I'm getting nowhere with it. The other problem I'm having is the yarn that I have is getting smaller. So I explained this the last time, but so I've got my bowl of minis here. These are all mini skeins, and the majority of these are from my Beehive Yarns advent calendar. Not from last year, but from the year before. And because each row now is taking up a certain amount of yarn, I can only choose the colours that I'm doing from certain balls, because some of them are not going to be big enough. I'm not going to have enough yarn there to get there and back. And this blanket's working up a little. I've got nowhere to put this now. This blanket is working up a little bit differently compared to the last time I made one, because the last one was a true scrappy blanket. So quite often I wouldn't have enough to get across even one row, and that was fine. I'd just join the next colour. But with this one, because I've started off working, I'm trying to find the end. Because I've started off working 2 rows of each colour, I kind of want to continue that. So that's meant that the options that I have for choosing the next colour of yarn is getting smaller and smaller, because I've only got kind of these really, and that's it, that are big enough that I know will go and do both rows. Whereas ones like this, you know, I don't think there's going to be enough there. So whereas in the beginning I started off being quite intentional about my colour choices, spreading them out, and really like kind of I wouldn't say planning. I've not really like planned the colours, but thinking carefully, if you like, about which colour I'm going to use next and things. Because my options are limited now, I don't have that kind of freedom to pick and choose, and some of the combinations I'm not completely happy with. So I was kind of wondering what to do, and I was also thinking maybe, you know, I should just pop it to one side for a little bit and wait until I get some more yarn leftovers from socks and things like that to top my yarn bowl up. But see, this is the good thing about getting organised. As I was sorting through all of my yarn to transfer it into my new yarn cabinet, I came across this. So quite a while ago now, Alina from Wollington Yarn Club sent me this. It was a very kind gift from her. So if you've not heard of the Wollington Yarn Club, basically it's a UK-based company, and I believe it's a subscription, but I assume you can just buy a one-off and dip in and out if you like. And each month features so many minis like this, and each month features a different yarn dyer. And the one that I had was from Skein Queen. I've never actually bought anything from, so it's, you know, it's a really good way to try out different dyes and things, and you just get kind of a sample of their different colorways and things like that. So I was really happy when I found these, because I thought, well, maybe I can just add these then into my yarn bowl, and it will give me some more options to choose from. But yeah, aren't they cute? So I've got this one, Abbey Ruins. There are more, but I've picked out the colours that I think will fit in with the rest of the blanket. But these are great for all kinds of projects, really. As you know, I'm a huge fan of scrap yarn projects and things like that, but they'd also be really good for like socks and things like that, especially like solid ones like this. That would be perfect. Just as a contrast colour, wouldn't it? Gives you some good options. So yeah, I was really pleased when I found that. I think I'm going to add those to my yarn bowl now. The other reason that I'm kind of not enjoying this project quite as much now is because I keep thinking of all the other lovely things I could be making. I'm just a bit fatigued with it, I think. I think I just need to push through, and then once I'm onto the decreases and we're on the home straight, basically, I'll probably feel better. But a while ago, I started a knitted mitered square blanket, and I think I only did about 6 squares. But it would be nice to, continue and add some more rows to that and the things. And I would quite like to make some scrappy socks, and I can't touch any of the yarn that's in that yarn bowl at the moment because it must be saved for this blanket. So yeah, I just need to push ahead, but hopefully since the last time that we spoke you can see some progress with it. And another project, sorry, that I've made some good progress with is my storm sweater. So I only need to make the sleeves on this now. I've worked this in a different order than usual. So I normally do the body and then I follow the pattern. The patterns almost always have you do the sleeves and then finish off with the neckline. And I'm not sure why I decided to go rogue with this one really, but I've decided I'd do the neckline. It only took me a day to do that. It's a folded collar, but isn't it looking good? I'm worried that it's too short. I've followed the pattern to what it says and I've measured it and everything, but I've noticed in the pattern pictures, so I've ended with this one here. In the pattern pictures, it ends with this one. So PetiteKnit goes down to here and then adds another extra section on and then adds the ribbing and finishes off the body. But like I say, it is I have followed it to the correct measurements. So and I suppose if I did do it longer, then I might run out of yarn, mightn't I? But yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that, and I suppose when I block it, it will grow anyway. Last time I showed this project, I held it up. I showed you it like this, like I am now, and I didn't realise that there was a glaring big mistake on the front of it, and I suppose it's good that nobody commented to let me know because that meant that it wasn't that noticeable anyway. But I have gone back and fixed it. If you look at this section here with kind of these slanted sections, that's just created like the rest of the pattern, just with knits and purl stitches, and you'll do so many knit stitches, so many purls, and then just stagger them. And at some point in the pattern, just on one section here, it was just on one row, I had just purled when I should have been knitting, and it had messed up the entire pattern, and I had no idea that I'd done it. And I did think I was going to have to frog the full thing back, which I really didn't want to do because I'd actually joined it together. I'd joined the front and the back panels. I thought I was going to have to unjoin them. I would have had to put all the stitches back on hold and things like that. I really didn't want to do that. And I managed to drop back the stitches individually and just fix them up one by one. I was really pleased with myself. It wasn't as bad as what I thought it would be, but I thought, I may as well try because even if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter because if I can't do it, I'm going to have to frog the full thing back anyway. But yeah, I managed to do it. So I was really pleased that I could do that. Not nearly as intimidating as I thought it would be. So I'm hoping to get the sleeves done and started on that soon. I've been waiting for a new cable to come. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram. I'm on there as MSC Makes as well. But if you do, you might have seen in my stories. I was just knitting on my storm sweater and the cable suddenly came away on my knitting needles and I dropped a load of stitches and I just assumed, I've not tightened the connector properly. But it wasn't that. The actual cable had just come away from the join, and that's only ever happened to me once before with a pair of like cheap knit pro needles. I was really gutted because these are my scenic curves and I saved up to buy these and they were like they were expensive. they were, you know, a splurge for me. So I was really a bit gutted that that had happened. So I contacted CNIT and they were wonderful. They're based in Japan. I contacted them, I think it was on the, so this happened on the Monday. I contacted them on the Tuesday with a photo and just explained what had happened. They contacted me again. I had a message from them the next day because obviously there's a time difference. Really apologetic. They sent out a replacement cable for me, special delivery from Japan that arrived yesterday. So they sent it out on the Wednesday, it arrived on the Monday, and it had a letter of apology in with it as well. So I just think the customer service is fantastic. So now that I've got that, I can start knitting on the sleeves again. So I'm glad that that got sorted. But yeah, that's never happened to me before, really, apart from that one time. Somebody did reply to my story on Instagram and said that you can fix it by using a lighter to melt the end of the cord and then kind of using tweezers to put it back in. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that. I might just, yeah, start a fire or something. Another project that I've been making good progress on that I showed you or I chatted about with you last time, but I didn't actually I hadn't started it back then, is the Moby sweater that I'm making for Luke. So if you remember, I had written out an entire schedule for this, and I'm pleased to report that I am on schedule with it. So this is how it's looking. This is a pattern again by PetiteKnit. It's the Moby Sweater Man. I have made this before, but I made the child version. So obviously this is right at the other end of the scale, huge compared to the last one I made. So the back panel is done. I've done the left and the front and the left, the right and the front, sorry, and it's all joined in the round. And I've done this much of the body. So I'm currently on target. I have until the end of the month to get the body completed. And if I can do that, then I'm on target for getting it done in time for Christmas. I'm using Sandnes Garn Pia Gynt in the colourway. Oh, now I'm not sure which one is the colourway and which one's the dye-lock. I think the colourway is 1053, and I think the other colour is the dye-lock. And I have to say, it's very woolly wool, if that makes sense. It feels quite rusticy. Or rustic, I don't know what rusticy means. It feels quite rustic, but that is good. So this is definitely not going to be a sweater that pills, basically. It's going to be really hard wearing. I did start to get worried that it's too rustic. So when I finished the front panel, but before I joined everything in the round, I asked Luke if he wanted to try this on, just to check for the sizing before I joined it in the body, so it was easier basically. And he tried it on, and it was against bare skin, which I'm hoping is the problem, because he tried it on for a few seconds and then he had to take it straight off because he said that it was itching him too bad. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried that I mean, I don't want to make the entire sweater and then he can't wear it, but I'm hoping that, you know, once he's wearing it with a t-shirt underneath or something like that, that it will be fine. But it did worry me, so I did have a little Google to read about other people's experiences and things to see what they'd said. And quite a lot of people reassuringly said that yes, it feels very rustic, but it does soften up once you've washed it. And also it softens up with wear as well, just from kind of like the oils from your skin and things like that, and just from wearing it, it does soften up. Somebody commented that I think it was her dad had a sweater using this same yarn when she was younger, and he still has it, and he's had it for like 20 years and it still looks fantastic. So that's good. But yeah, I just really hope it softens up, because I don't know anybody else who's the same size as Luke who would wear it. I'd have to wear it. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I'd wear it. But yeah, so I'm a little bit off put by that, but I'm pleased by the progress that I've made with it so far. And I'm on to a really easy part now. The only thing, I have to keep track of which row that I'm on because I know that every 10 rows I have to do the cabling or the cables. I just can't memorize the mock cable section on the front. I have to have the chart to hand. It's only to glimpse at, just to double check which part I'm at so I know what I'm doing. But if I could get that memorized as well, I would be well aware. So yeah, it's a little bit awkward. I do still have to have the chart just to check those rows, but mainly now I can kind of just knit it without having to check anything, as long as I've got a row counter and I know what row that I'm on for the cables. Last time we chatted, I showed you some of my hand dyed yarn that I've been dyeing with natural dye extracts and things, and I mentioned that I've been busy in the process of washing and swatching them and things like that, testing them for light fastness. I decided that I would like to knit up a sample for each of the three colourways that I've got at the moment. And so I've cast on a pair of socks with one of the colours. So this is the yarn, and I have wound it in a cake since the last time we spoke. One of the downsides to having yarn storage like this is that my balls of yarn aren't great for the shelves because they kind of just roll all over and everything, and I can't stack them. So I think from now on I might make the effort to cake yarn a bit more so that I can stack it on top of each other. But I also wanted to make sure that I can differentiate as well between my yarn and other dyed yarn that I have, because I'll probably get mixed up. But this colourway is called Oat Milk, and I wanted a really beautiful pattern to showcase the yarn. So I've cast on a pair of Poet Socks, which is a really beautiful pattern by Sari Nordlund. And the thing is, it's on this side might be better to show you. So this is how it's looking at the moment. It's one of those patterns like lace, obviously looks better once it's been blocked, but hopefully you can see the really pretty pattern on there. And I think with it being just a tonal yarn, there we go, it shows up all the different patterns and the seed stitch and the lace. It shows it up beautifully. This pattern's been on my list for forever and I've always been a bit intimidated by it, but I think lace is one of those things that always does look more intimidating than it actually is. I mean, it's basically just knits, pearls and yarn overs, isn't it? So if you can do those, you can knit lace. It's just harder keeping track of where you're up to and things. I'm sorry if you can hear next door's dog. Every time she goes out, it howls non-stop until she gets back in. It drives me mad. I'm completely losing my train of thought as well, but hopefully the mic's not picking it up. So this is a pattern by Sari Nordlund, and if you wanted to give it a go but you're worried about the lace as well, the other good thing about this pattern is that it's charted, but it does come with the full written instructions as well. So normally I would follow the chart, but because it's only such a small amount of stitches, I've got 60 stitches on the needles and the pattern repeats worked over 20 stitches. You repeat each row 3 times across the round. It's kind of easy just to look at the written instructions, to be honest. So I've got about 15 more rounds to do for the leg, and then I'm going to go on to the heel. But yeah, I'm loving these, and I think they're going to showcase the yarn. Look at that. They're going to showcase the yarn really well, I think. The only thing is with them being lace, it's not a project that I can it's not a project that I can work on when anybody else is at home, basically, and it's certainly not TV knitting. Nearly all of my projects at the moment do involve a little bit of concentration. I don't really have anything, or I didn't have anything that was kind of mindless, and I really was missing that. So I did cast on two new projects to kind of scratch that itch to give me some plainer projects as well. So one of those is the Berlin scarf, and the second one is the Sofie Sweater. And they're both by Susanne Muller, who is on Instagram as Paula Strict, but I'll pop all the details down below anyway. So I'll talk about the Berlin scarf first, and I did mention this briefly last time and said that I was planning to cast it on. So I'm using Hobbie's Upcycled Alpaca wool, and this is the big version, and the colour is 02, colour number 2. And I'm pretty sure that it is called Walnut, but it's upcycled, so it's basically using like the scraps and the leftovers from other wool. So the colorways that you see are limited edition, because once they've gone, and they might not be able to recreate those colors again exactly. I've got the project here so far, and this is, I mean, it looks incredibly boring. So this is my kind of mindless TV knitting project now, which I needed because I really missed having my advent scarf on the needles, because up until now, that's been my mindless TV knitting project. But at least with the advent scarf, I had colour changes to work towards and things like that. With this one, I'm just using the same colour all throughout. So I've started off with a provisional cast on, because this will be picked back up, I believe, at the end to knit the big fringe or tassels at the end. And I'm just knitting stockinette basically until it's about 2 meters long. I think it's 180 centimeters, it says, which is bigger than me. So I've got quite a way to go yet, and then I'll pick up at the end to do the tassels. But so that's the thing, isn't it? Projects that are good for being really mindless are a little bit boring when it comes to sharing them on podcasts and things like that. But the yarn feels beautiful. I'm knitting on really big needles, so I was worried about how that would look. If I can just show you how it looks on its own, you can see that it does look a bit gappy, but because it's worked in the round, so it's held double, you can't tell. It feels gorgeous. It feels really thick and soft and luxurious. I mean, it's going to be beautiful. And because it's knit with the big needles as well, it does mean that it is it is working up quite quickly, I think. It is working up quite quickly. But yeah, that's my first most mindless project. And then I've also cast on the Sofie Sweater, and again, I'm using Hobbii Upcycled Alpaca, but I'm just using the fine version. And this colour is, where does it say the colour? Oh, it's colour number 1, which I think is like Almond or something like that. And I'm holding that double with Hobbii Friends Kid Silk, and that's colour 7. It doesn't say the shade name, but those are the numbers. And it's working up really nice. I've only used Hobbie's mohair once, and it was a long time ago, and it was Hobbii Diablo, and I'm pretty sure at the time it was the only mohair option that they had, and it wasn't actually 100% mohair. I think it was something like 40% mohair, 60% acrylic, and it wasn't very nice. So I've been really, really pleasantly surprised by this. I would say this is on a par with like Drops Kid Silk It's 72% mohair, 25% silk, 3% wool, and it's gorgeous. It feels so soft. And this is where I am at the moment, and it's kind of bunched up a bit on the needle, so it is a bit tricky to show you. So it's knit flat. So it's like, I'll pop a picture in. I'll pop a picture here so you can see how it looks. But it is kind of like a crossover wrap sweater. So it'll be knit flat right until the very end, at which point you cross over the front and the different sides on the front, the left and the right, to create that wrap over look. The construction of this is unlike anything I've ever made before, and I'm going to try and explain it, but because everything's kind of joined and things now, that's also going to be a little bit tricky. So if I show you the back of the neck, you cast on, and I won't tell you exactly how many, because I don't want to spoil the pattern, but let's imagine that you have to cast on 8 stitches. So you cast on 8 stitches like this, and you knit like a little tab like this, and then you pop the stitches up here on hold. And then you turn it around and you pick up 8 stitches at the bottom here, and you knit another tab to the same length, and you also pop those stitches on hold. And then what you do, while both ends of this are on hold, you pick up all of the stitches along one side here, and then you start knitting the back panel. And then once you've knit the back panel, you pick up the stitches on one side for one of the shoulders, along with the stitches that are on hold, and then you start knitting that panel. You do the same with the other side, and then you join the whole thing so that it's all in one piece, and you can see how much I've done there. So that's underneath the armhole. I think I did quite a good job of explaining that, actually. So I worked really, really hard on this because I wanted to get past all the awkward beginning stage, and onto the point now where I can just relax and work on the body. But it feels beautiful. It's going to be so nice. And I think because it's got kind of the big open wrap front, it's going to be a really nice transitional piece. So it will be good. It'll be good to wear in place of like a cardigan or a jacket or something like that. Obviously we're heading into winter now, so it may not be something that I wear until springtime, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. I've been looking at the designer's Instagram page this morning, and she's got so many gorgeous designs. She showed a picture of the Berlin scarf that I just showed you before this project, and she's done it in like a gorgeous red. The picture and the photography was lovely, but it made me think that I've chosen a really boring colour, and I wished I'd been a bit more brave with mine, but never mind, I can always make another one. So those are all of my projects, and I've been chatting for about 50 minutes. So not bad, not bad. So next time we chat, I will hopefully be onto the decreases on my moss stitch blanket, and that will be almost finished. My poet socks will be done, and I'll have the next sample on, and I'll have even more progress on other projects to share with you. But I'd love to know what you're working on at the moment. Have you lost your crojo as well? Do you find that you also tend to knit more when it comes to autumn and we head to winter, or do you just crochet all the time? And let me know what you think about my next sock project, and let me know which one you think I should start. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will chat with you all again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.